talking about internationally adopted children and language development. So, did you know that more than 200,000 international children were adopted in the USA over the last decade? It's important to know the language development in internationally adopted children so that parents, caregivers, teachers, specialists, SLPs are able to understand their learning and determine if there is a lag or if they are learning just on time. Internationally adopted children are unique second language learners. In fact, they acquire both languages successively, but they discontinue their first language or birth language. In fact, they lose or forget any competence they have in their birth or first language shortly after they are adopted. Most internationally adopted children actually do not become bilinguals. Internationally adopted children are considered to be at risk for language development. There are several reasons why. The first I will mention is the sudden termination of acquisition of the birth language. Although it is not understood how and to what extent this affects children, there is growing evidence that in the first months and year of life, they are very significant for language learning of either the first or another language because of changes that occur in the brain during the first months of life as a result of the exposure to language, which means that the sudden change in the language exposure upon adoption may compromise or change the normal neurocognitive systems that support the acquisition of language. And as a result, the child may be put at risk or the change pattern in the acquisition in internationally adopted children. Another more important and direct risk of the language development in internationally adopted children is the fact that many internationally adopted children are raised in orphanages prior to adoption. These orphanages are high-risk environments for young children. They are often deprived of consistent and durable interpersonal relationships, and they also often experience a lack of general stimulations and poor language experiences. It is almost impossible for children not to be affected by their stay in these institutions, but some of these effects may be short-lived after adoption. This is because the supportive environments these children experience in their new homes. The families provide these children with the support they need to offset the effects of the impoverishment and adversity that adopted children may have experienced prior to their adoption. Lastly, internationally adopted children may be at risk because even though many children begin to learn language within 2 to 3 years of life, they still fall behind in exposure to the language compared with typical first language learners. This concern is what implicates the critical period hypothesis, which argues that competence in a second language is likely to be native-like in the long run, only if it is acquired before a certain critical period, where less than native-like competence is expected if the acquisition of the second language occurs after that critical period. This does not mean that it will be impaired, although it does mean that it may differ. Children go through a big adjustment in their personal, social, cultural, and physical environment, all while adjusting to a new language system. So it is important to understand whether these differences are reflections of an impairment or simply a difference in their language learning experience. It is evident that in preschool internationally adopted children, they show remarkable progress in their new language. This progress is evident immediately after adoption and prior to starting school. Internationally adopted children score within normal range and sometimes above normal on a variety of standardized measures of language before entering school at the age of 5. Other factors that can influence language outcomes in the age of the adoption. which is relatable to the critical period hypothesis. So, younger adoptees tend to display better language outcomes than older adoptees. Internationally adopted children who experience severe deprivation in the orphanages or the environment they were in prior to adoption can experience language delays and or long-term problems even if the adoption does occur at a young age. The country of origin may also influence their language outcomes. All this information really highlights the importance of examining the quality and the amount of time the child received in these institutions. This way, one can provide the right environment and professional attention that will optimize the overall development of internationally adopted children. I hope you guys found this video very informative. Thank you for watching. Bye now.